Remember my last. These are the words that Dumbledore sends to Petunia that Harry and the Dursleys all overhear, but what exactly do they mean? Now, obviously this works for Petunia as Harry is allowed to stay at number 4, but we never really learn the full reason why. At the end of Order of the Phoenix, Dumbledore tells Harry that he was just reminding Petunia of the pact that she made when she agreed to take him in, but we never really learn the full details of that, even in King's Cross after Dumbledore and Harry's deaths. And it's not like there's a huge range of topics there can really be for Dumbledore and Petunia to be talking about. I can't really see them hanging out, and I definitely can't see Petunia agreeing to have a drink with him. I mean, in the series, nobody seems to want to have a drink with Dumbledore ever. And I don't get why that is. I mean, he seems like a cool dude. Frankly, I don't know why people don't want to have a drink with Dumbledore.
So, Saturday night, time to cut loose, right? Who wants to split a beer?
Come on, man, I'm trying to make you look cool here. But even if Dumbledore was the kind of person who Petunia would go and have a drink with, we do know about all the times in their lives they've spoken to each other. There's when Lily gets into Hogwarts and Petunia writes to him to try to get in herself. There's when Dumbledore comes to Privet Drive to read Sirius's will to Harry and the Dursleys are all there. And then there's when Harry is left at the Dursleys' doorstep as a baby. Now, I'm not breaking any news here when I'm saying that yes, it obviously has to be something that was in the letter when Harry was left at their doorstep, but it has to be something pretty powerful too when you consider that 1, it's 14 years later, 2, that it really snaps her back and changes her mind when the Dursleys are about to kick Harry out of the house, because Dudley has just been attacked by a Dementor. They are getting a first-hand look at how dangerous it can be having Harry living in the same house as them. Now, when Dumbledore explains everything to Harry at the end of Order of the Phoenix, he tells him that the purpose of the Howler was to remind Petunia of the blood pact and her agreeing to take in Harry and raise him. I thought that she might need reminding of the pact that she had sealed by taking you. Now, Petunia does this grudgingly, furiously, unwillingly, and bitterly, but she does do it, so why? The Dursleys obviously never care for Harry in any way. They don't want anything to do with James and Lily and their abnormal lifestyle, and they definitely aren't the kind of people who would take care of a child in need, so they have to be getting something, right?
Right!
But what can Dumbledore offer them? They hate magic, so that rules out most of the things he can offer, but it doesn't rule out everything. What if he can offer them safety, convince them that they're in danger, which wouldn't really be that hard to do after you tell them that James and Lily were murdered, and that by taking in Harry, they're going to be protecting themselves. Now, of course, this isn't true. The only protection involved in this is the bond of blood, which only works for Harry to protect him from harm as long as he can call number 4 Privet Drive home. But the Dursleys don't have any way to know that. And this isn't the only time that the Dursleys are kept in the dark about something magical, which, by the way, is definitely where they prefer to be, but at least except in the case of Harry being able to do magic outside of school, they don't know that it's against the rules for him to be doing that until he's accused of breaking the statute of secrecy. And the more we learn about Dumbledore and Deathly Hallows, the more we learn just how manipulative he can be. I mean, sure, there were signs of it all throughout the series, but the only time we see somebody just openly talk about it is his brother Aberforth, who resents him because he cares about the greater good. So what does Remember My Last mean? Dumbledore's just referring to the lie that by taking Harry in, the Dursleys are protecting themselves. Though I guess it's possible that it could be an agreement where Dumbledore is saying, hey, if you take in Harry and raise him, I will protect you myself. I do lean towards the former, though, because I can't really see the Dursleys entrusting their safety to a wizard.
This is the last I'm going to take of you and your nonsense.
Also, I lean towards Dumbledore just lying to the Dursleys because, 1, they have no way to call him on it, and 2, it is way too important that Harry have the bond of blood protection. There's no other blood relatives for him to live with, so there's no other options. Dumbledore cannot fail to have the Dursleys take in Harry, so if he has to tell a lie, he may not feel good about it, but we do also know that as a character, he justifies a lot to himself under the guise of the greater good. The greater good. And I don't just mean with Grindelwald either. He also has this mindset with Harry, and heck, we only have to look at 1 year for it. By the end of Philosopher's Stone, he's put him against a three-headed dog, a number of other obstacles, and one of his other professors who just so happens to have Voldemort sticking out of the back of his head, but this all works out. It is for the greater good because Voldemort is eventually defeated and Harry's soul is safe. And he does this in his younger days too, as he neglects his sister and her suffering because what he's working on is so important that it'll help everyone. It'll even help her. She won't have to be in hiding anymore, or he'll be able to get his hands on the invisibility cloak, and as Master of Death, he'll be able to keep her safe, It doesn't matter that she's suffering right now, because in the end, it'll all be worth it. Of course, though, the biggest example of him doing this is his love for Grindelwald. Now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt of being a young man who just lost his parents and seemingly his future. I'm sure he wouldn't, but he's vulnerable at this time, and Grindelwald comes into his life and charms him, even if deep down he really knows what Grindelwald is. Gellert, your point about wizard dominance being for the Muggles' own good. This, I think, is the crucial point. Yes, we have been given power, and yes, that power has given us the right to rule, but it also gives us responsibilities over the ruled. We seize control for the greater good. The greater good. Now, this is obviously a bad look for Dumbledore, as he's arguing for wizards to rule and to use force if necessary to do so, but even here, at his most wrong, there's still somebody else who he reminds me of.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
And I don't think anybody is going to argue that Uncle Ben is wrong here. It's just that Dumbledore doesn't take in this message the same way that Peter doesn't until they both lose somebody who's really close to them, and then they blame themselves for it. It's that tragic origin that leads to them becoming the noble characters that they're meant to be. Click on the card up here if you want to see how else Dumbledore is like Spider-Man. There's more than you'd think. But even at the end of his life, this younger version of Dumbledore is still there. He's the one who puts on the ring, even though he knows it's a Horcrux. He's the one who spends the last year of his life just getting Harry ready for the fight against Voldemort. Sure, it would be nice if they could connect in a more meaningful way, but he's got a ticking clock, and he's got to get Harry ready, and do it very quickly. And plus, he's already made a mistake when he's tried to let Harry have a normal childhood, and that was when he had time to prepare him. He doesn't have that luxury now, so in the end, if he has to tell a few lies, then it'll be worth it. For the greater good. Shut it! So that's my theory for how Dumbledore is a dirty, manipulative liar who gets people to take in children against their will. Man, that's a way to put it, isn't it? But let me know down in the comments if you agree that Dumbledore lied to the Dursleys, or if you think he said something else. I'd love to hear what you guys think, but that's all I got for you guys today. So if you made it to the end of the video, you probably enjoyed a little bit, so drop a like, subscribe if you want more like this, and I'll see you next time on STV. Why are you still here? It's over. Subscribe, then shoo!